The train rattles across the bridge as a burning sunset engulfs the city in a golden glow. A new chapter begins under the fading light. The train shakes violently, but our protagonist stays planted, completely unfazed by the crushing crowd. Talk about nerves of steel. He lets out a desperate cry. He is absolutely done with this commute. The automated voice echoes through the cabin. This is Uedo Station. Doors opening on the left. Chaos ensues as people start shoving and fighting their way out. The morning rush hour is truly a battlefield. He sighs at the youngsters. Honestly, where are their manners these days? Suddenly, a chilling realization hits him like a lightning bolt. Something feels fundamentally wrong. An empty seat on line 9 during rush hour? That's not just luck. That's a glitch in the matrix. The tension spikes as a firm grip drags him into a sudden, inescapable encounter. No one is getting out of this one. He gasps for air, finally feeling a sliver of relief. This is the peak of his happiness right here. Meet Oh Hyun-min, the 33-year-old corporate legend. He breezed through business school at the top of his class, leaving every other student in the dust. He passed the CPA while still in school and became the youngest manager in company history. He's basically a corporate god. Whenever a project hit a brick wall, the higher-ups knew exactly what to do. They didn't bother with meetings or brainstorming. They simply gave the order, give it to Oh Hyun-min. He's the man who achieves the impossible, even if it runs him into the ground. Results are his only language. That's right, it's him, the one and only Oh Hyun-min. He lets out a weary, soul-crushing sigh. Being a genius is exhausting, but 3 straight months of overtime? Even a workaholic has his limits. A sudden, lethal silence descends as he realizes he's drifted off to sleep. Death or a very angry boss awaits. He jolts awake in a cold sweat. Did he seriously doze off on the train? Panic sets in. He missed his stop. Or did he? Something about this platform looks completely wrong. He finds himself thrown onto an icy throne, trembling in pure, unadulterated panic. There is no turning back now. He screams in terror as the world around him turns into a frozen nightmare. The panic continues to set in. He's losing his mind. He can't stop the shouting. The fear is just too real. He shields his face, desperately trying to block out the harsh, freezing reality. He's cornered in a jagged, icy abyss. Terror strikes deep as he realizes he's trapped in a nightmare. His face goes pale with absolute dread. He lets out another blood-curdling scream. This is definitely not the commute he signed up for. He gasps, trying to regain his composure. A cry of pure desperation escapes his lips. He's still stuck on that thought. 3 months of overtime. He concludes he must have either died from exhaustion or officially lost his marbles. He lets out one more frantic, panicked yell. The screaming doesn't stop. He's losing it. There's a total breakdown in the middle of nowhere. Someone get this man a therapist and a blanket. Green skin, long ears. Wait, is he hallucinating? He stares in disbelief. Yeah, those are definitely goblins. The exact kind you see in every generic game or anime. But there's something weird about them. A goblin bows, shouting that their lord has finally arrived. The creatures are practically throwing a party in his honor. He's stunned. They can actually speak, and in fluent Korean, no less. They keep calling him Lord. Are they actually talking about him? The monstrous beast launches into a terrifying charge, shaking the very ground beneath his feet. The tension is rising, and the situation is getting dangerously wild. A tiny goblin stares at him with an innocent gaze, clutching a forbidden fruit that looks suspiciously dangerous. The goblin holds out the prize. My lord, eat. He stares down at the mysterious fruit, totally bewildered. Is this a snack or a death sentence? He's baffled. He's never seen a fruit like this in his entire life. Is it his imagination? Or is that thing actually pulsating in his hand? He stares in shock at the glowing fruit. What kind of dark power is hidden inside this snack? It's burning hot to the touch. The tiny goblin squeals with excitement, clearly expecting a reaction. If he doesn't eat it, he's definitely going to look like the bad guy. Peer pressure in the demon realm is real, folks. With a firm, lethal grip, he crushes the fruit. The power surging through his hand is nothing but trouble. His stomach lets out a roar that could rival the goblins. Even in a fantasy world, hunger is the ultimate enemy. His last meal was a triangle kimbap from a convenience store. Talk about a downgrade. Screw it. Whatever this is, he's going in. The world stands still as a chilling realization hits him like a freight train. The terror of his situation is finally sinking in. The goblins cackle with wicked delight as they prepare for a feast. Their malice is as sharp as their teeth. He takes a bite. And wait, it's actually good? That's the best fruit he's ever had. He lets out a shout of pure, unexpected satisfaction. He's loving it, though he pretends he only meant to take one bite. Cold sweat drips down his brow. His heart is hammering against his ribs in pure, unadulterated terror. He collapses in defeat before the pint-sized monsters. His strength is fading fast. He feels the world spinning. He's suddenly getting dizzy. No way. Was it the fruit? Did he just poison himself? A status window pops up. Name: Oh Hyun-min. Territory: Red Rock Valley. Population: 47. Looks like he's got a lot of work to do. The air grows freezing, and a razor-sharp blade hovers in the silence. He's staring death in the face. The countdown is ticking. The pressure is mounting. For days, 3 hours, 5 minutes, and 58 seconds left. The clock is officially running. Territory war? He's confused. What on earth is that? He's never heard of such a thing in his life. The system begins to answer his burning questions. It explains that a war is coming to mobilize every resource to protect his territory. Who is talking to him? He's in total shock. This can't be happening. The system is relentless, and he's caught in the middle of it. The wiki tool is active, but he's still clueless. Did the system just answer him? Is this thing sentient? It offers to explain the bloody history of these wars. He snaps at it. Forget the history, he wants the facts. Where is he? He was just on the subway a minute ago. The system confirms. He is now in the demon realm. His territory level is too low to even see his own location. Talk about a bad start. The demon realm? He was summoned to a place that sounds like a death trap. He's struggling to process the sheer absurdity of it all. That's the whole explanation? He demands a more detailed briefing, but the system is stingy. Access denied. His territory level is just too pathetic. He's losing his cool. How does he get back home? Still nothing. The system is just as unhelpful as a corporate HR department. Exhausted and beaten, he collapses on the throne. The stress is hitting him hard. He takes a moment to just sit and stare into the abyss. The chill of betrayal hits him. He's completely at the mercy of this cruel reality. Azurascans is watching, and so is his impending doom. It's official. This is definitely not a dream. He lets out a deep, defeated groan. He finally starts to accept the situation. Territory war? So he has to fight a war, right? The system confirms it. He has no other choice. He's starting to realize just how screwed he really is. And his army is just a bunch of scrawny goblins? This is going to be a complete disaster. A menacing goblin emerges from the shadows, hungry for a fight. Its grin is pure chaos. The monster looms over him, pulsing with raw power. It's ready to smash anything in its path. A sinister gaze watches from the darkness. Something wicked is definitely brewing. He looks at his subjects. They're all completely malnourished. They'd lose a fight against a stiff breeze, let alone an army. He asks the wiki how he's supposed to win with these guys. What happens if he loses? The system doesn't sugarcoat it. There's a high probability of death. If he loses, he becomes the property of the enemy. 99.95% of lords end up dead. Those are some terrible odds. He laughs bitterly. Of course the stats are rigged. He curses his luck. This is a nightmare. Reality or the demon realm, it's all the same miserable grind. No budget, no manpower, and zero time to prepare. And yet, the report still has to be finished by tomorrow morning. Working with his life on the line is exactly like his old job. He asks the system for one final, crucial piece of information. If he keeps winning and levels up his territory, is there a chance he can actually go home? The system processes his request. It finally gives him a sliver of hope. Possible. But the survival rate for new lords is practically non-existent. The heavy silence is shattered by ominous footsteps. Predator is closing in. He squares his shoulders and steps into the unknown. There's no turning back now. 4 days until he dies. That's all the time he has left. He's trapped in this bizarre, terrifying world. The ground trembles. Something cold-blooded is coming for him. The impact shatters the earth. The intensity of this clash is reaching a breaking point. He still doesn't know the first thing about territory wars. But it doesn't matter anymore. He's got 4 days and he plans to make every second count. Oh Hyun-min, the man who is destined for greatness, isn't going to let a little thing like death stop him. He has absolutely no intention of dying in this hole. He looks at his ragtag team of goblins. He's sorry to break it to them, but things are about to get intense. Overtime is the only way to survive. It's the secret to his success. Overtime creates miracles. Starting tonight, nobody is getting any sleep. Everyone is officially on mandatory overtime. A lone figure corners the group in the canyon. Nowhere left to run. He surveys the terrain, narrow entrance, wide exit. Perfect for a trap. A spark of genius lights up his eyes. He's already planning his counterattack. He shouts a question to the goblins, but they just stare back blankly. Useless. The system tries to stay quiet, but he tells it to shut up. He's got this. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. The leader snaps his fingers, demanding absolute focus from his ragtag crew. The clock is ticking, and the mission begins right this second. He rallies the troops, swearing they will hold this narrow passage or die trying. With a tactical glare, he lays out the plan of attack for his confused subordinates. He points at a group of 10, who look back with nothing but blank, confused stares. Typical. He barks an order to chop down trees of a specific height to fortify their position. The group stands there, completely lost in space. Maybe they're still buffering? He loses his patience, screaming at them to get moving before he loses his cool. The troops scramble, finally realizing that standing still is a great way to get killed. He mutters to himself that these guys are just like fresh recruits, useless until you give them a good scare. He redirects the next 15 soldiers, pointing them toward the high ground. Outnumbered and cornered, our hero stands his ground against a horde of ravenous goblins. The air crackles with tension as the slaughter is about to begin. He commands them to haul every single stone they can find and pile them high on the cliffside. The workers scramble, desperate to follow orders before the boss blows a fuse. He leads the rest of the crew to the entrance, ready to get his own hands dirty digging pits. With a sharp command, the excavation begins under the scorching sun. There isn't a shovel in sight, so they'll have to dig with their bare hands until they bleed. He yells that if they lack teeth for the hard labor, they should bite down with their gums and keep pushing. The grit and determination are palpable. This is what true desperation looks like. An ominous silence hangs over the jagged cliffs as colossal, unnatural boulders loom in the darkness. Something ancient and dangerous is lurking just out of sight. A lethal rain of steel pierces the ground, sealing off every path. There is no escape from this sudden, sharp onslaught. A suffocating darkness looms within the jagged canyon walls. What nightmare hides in the depths of this treacherous abyss? He praises their hard work, even though they look like they've been through a meat grinder, covered in grime, nails shredded, and knees scraped raw. They look absolutely pathetic, but they're still standing. Suddenly, a mysterious system prompt flashes. A trait called overtime activates, boosting efficiency and stamina for all residents. He realizes this might be their golden ticket, but there's no time to celebrate. Every second counts. He demands a moment of silence to deliver a crucial briefing. He warns them that the real hell is just beginning, despite all the work they've done since noon. He leans in, asking if they truly understand the essence of overtime. It's all about working while the rest of the world is fast asleep. He admits it's going to be painful, but there's no turning back now. He shouts that every drop of sweat they lose now will save their lives in the upcoming territory war. He demands a thunderous, morale-boosting shout from his ragtag army. He counts down, wanting the loudest 3 seconds of their lives. They roar back in unison, their voices echoing through the canyon. Overtime! The energy is infectious, the group screaming overtime, again with newfound fervor. Satisfied with their spirit, he orders everyone to grab their weapons and assemble immediately. The ground trembles as a relentless horde of monsters charges forward. There's no escaping the thundering approach of these lethal beasts. The air is filled with the shrieks of the incoming goblin swarm. He scoffs at the chaotic mess before him. This is going to be a long night. Barehanded and out of options, he can't believe this is the sorry excuse for an army he has to work with. He decides to get strategic, banking on the fact that the enemy goblins likely have garbage gear, just like his own. If the raw combat power is equal, then the battle comes down to pure tactics. The hero is completely surrounded by a bloodthirsty horde of goblins. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It's time to fight for survival. He realizes the secret to victory isn't the weapon itself, but how it's wielded in the heat of combat. He recalls the wisdom of a mentor, knowing that the answers to their survival lie in the ancient art of war. He draws upon military history, deciding to force his men into a disciplined phalanx formation. Shoulder to shoulder, thrust forward. Even a clumsy attempt at this formation will give them a massive edge against the chaotic goblin swarm. He commands them to stand in a perfectly straight line, no exceptions. The troops look at him like he's speaking a foreign language. How are they supposed to do that? He sighs, realizing he's going to have to teach them basic geometry from scratch. He points to the reference man, setting the standard for the line. He shoves the next soldier into place, demanding precision. He drags the next one into the formation, keeping the line tight. He tells them to feel the elbow of the guy next to them. If they can't feel it, they're too far apart. He demonstrates the proper spear grip, tips aimed directly forward for maximum lethality. He explains the rhythm. When he says advance, they step. When he says thrust, they strike. He bellows advance, and the line shuffles forward, albeit shakily. The spears clatter as the soldiers struggle to keep their footing. They're wobbling like a house of cards in a hurricane. He yells at Vol to get off the ground and back into the fight. He screams for them to fix the line. If they don't tighten up, they're dead meat. The soldiers are sweating bullets, their arms shaking from the exertion. Advance! He shouts again, pushing them toward their limits. He reflects on his past life. Repetition is the only way to turn these idiots into soldiers. He reminds them that unless they're geniuses, hard work beats talent every single time. Advance! He commands, his voice echoing with authority. He forces them to do it again and again, dragging the fallen back into position. He notices the enemy goblins starting to lose their nerve. Their shoulders are slumping, and their grip on their weapons is growing weak. He recognizes that look. He's seen it 1,000 times in the office. It's the look of a defeated employee who just had their project rejected for the 3rd time today. He knows they can't stop now, or it's all over for everyone involved. He bellows for them to keep moving. They will survive this nightmare no matter what. The training continues in a blur of shouts and movement. They're basically doing a drill from hell now. Again! He yells, refusing to let them quit. He keeps pushing them, his voice raw from the constant commands. Again! He demands they get up, asking if they think this is some kind of game. He threatens to add 10 more laps of drills for every single mistake they make from here on out. The soldiers look at him with a mix of fear and newfound respect. A tiny goblin approaches with wide, innocent eyes, but don't let that cute face fool you. A tense confrontation begins as their paths finally cross. He glares down at the small creature, wondering what it wants. Cold sweat trickles down as terror grips the little creature. Frozen in fear, it braces for the nightmare to come. The goblin whimpers, begging to be sent away as food to save the rest. A sudden, chilling realization freezes him in his tracks. The truth hits like a lightning bolt. The goblin explains that this is how they've always survived, by sacrificing their own young. The goblin horde is on the move, clutching their young as they flee in terror. There is nowhere left to hide from the encroaching danger. An unexpected connection is forged as a tiny, desperate hand grips tight. The tension is palpable in this heart-wrenching moment of contact. The goblin hopes that if they offer the children, the hero will let the rest of them live. A dark, mocking chuckle escapes his lips. This is beyond pathetic. The monstrous beast lunges forward, its massive, hulking frame ready to crush everything in its path. Chaos erupts as this terrifying titan closes in for the kill. The atmosphere turns deadly as he stares down the horde. Shadows cloak his eyes, and the chilling silence speaks louder than any threat. He's not here to talk, he's here to end it. He laughs, a hollow sound that sends shivers down the goblin's spines. He asks if they're actually happy, living their lives by feeding their own children to the wolves just to survive. Trapped behind cold iron bars, these terrified goblins freeze in absolute silence. Their wide eyes reveal the sheer panic of facing their inevitable doom. He warns them that if they keep trading away pieces of themselves, eventually there will be nothing left. He declares that they will fight with everything they have, right here and right now. Not a single inch of land, not one child, and not even a grain of sand will be surrendered. He vows that they won't let the enemy take anything from them ever again. The system clock hits 3 seconds. The war is officially upon them. 1 second left until the chaos begins. The territory war is officially live. The goblins shriek in a frenzy, charging forward with primal rage. A single, ominous droplet shatters the stillness of the blood-stained ground. The silence is broken, and the hunt begins. A single, heavy step splashes into the blood-soaked ground. The tension spikes as the arrival is finally here. The war cries are deafening now, a cacophony of madness. The enemy territory, the Black Hill Goblins, has arrived in force. The dungeon gates rumble as our hero emerges, flanked by a lethal squad of spear-wielding goblins. The hunt is officially on. A heavy, ominous thud echoes through the darkness. The tension is palpable as something massive arrives. He commands his squad to raise their spears in perfect unison. A relentless swarm of goblins locks into position, spears leveled for the kill. The hunt begins now. A swarm of glowing-eyed horrors lunges from the shadows, ready to strike. Nowhere is safe as the ambush begins. They've done all they can to prepare. Now it's time to see if it was enough. A bloodthirsty horde of goblins surges forward, their glowing eyes burning with pure malice. There is no escape as the monsters close in for the kill. He yells for them to come and get it, standing his ground. A massive horde of goblins prepares to unleash a crushing avalanche of boulders into the dark abyss. The trap is set, and there's nowhere left to hide. The goblins shriek in anticipation as they swarm forward. The goblins freeze in sheer terror as they realize they're standing before a true monster. Their spears tremble as an overwhelming presence looms right behind them. He shouts at his men to hold their position. Do not move until the bastards hit the trap. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. He whispers for them to wait just a little longer, baiting the enemy further. The lead goblins are oblivious, charging straight into their own doom. A swarm of panicked goblins charges straight into a deadly, bottomless trap. Their reckless rush is about to turn into a nightmare. A goblin screams in realization, yelling at the others to stop before it's too late. It's pure chaos as the front line collapses into the pit. One goblin shoves another, yelling at the idiots behind him to stop pushing. He watches with a smirk, realizing these enemies are just as pathetic as his own troops were at the start. In that case, the battle is basically already won. Victory is theirs for the taking. The goblins are screaming, blaming each other as they tumble into the hole. He tells them to squirm all they want. There's no escaping this one. Sheer terror takes hold as these goblins tremble in the face of an unstoppable force. Their desperate cries echo through the cavern as they realize they're doomed. The carnage is just getting started, and the goblins are panicking. A massive roar echoes as the trap claims its first victims. He notes that once half of them are across, there's no way for them to retreat. The goblins shriek, realizing they've been played like a fiddle. He promises to make them regret the day they decided to invade his territory. Dressed for business but ready for blood, he effortlessly deflects the goblin horde's desperate strike. One look is all it takes to show these monsters they're out of their league. Now! He screams, signaling the next phase of the plan. He orders his men to rain rocks down on the trapped enemy. Don't stop for a second. Crush them with everything you've got. The goblins shriek under the barrage of stones raining from above. There's nowhere to hide from the flying debris. A heavy rock smashes into a goblin. That's gotta hurt. The goblins are in complete disarray, their ranks broken and bleeding. Panic erupts as the goblin watches his comrade fall to a brutal, unseen force. Terror is the only thing left on his face. A goblin cries out as a stone finds its mark. He orders them to keep moving, showing no mercy to the invaders. A frustrated shout rings out as the reality of the situation hits them. They're trapped. With their retreat cut off by the pit, the soldiers are nothing more than sitting ducks, and they simply don't have the numbers to break through. A guttural, monstrous cry echoes across the field. A single, defiant soldier prepares for the final stand. He mocks them, declaring that numbers are completely irrelevant in the face of true power. With a command that cuts through the chaos, he orders every spear to be raised for the final charge. They surge forward, charging headlong into the fray. A deafening, piercing screech tears through the air as the monsters close the distance. A spray of blood fills the air as the first lines of defense crumble under the assault. The goblin trembles in sheer terror, paralyzed as its weapon drips with blood. Death is closing in, and there's nowhere left to run. "Stay sharp," the commander bellows, ordering his men to pull back and thrust with everything they have. A desperate, high-pitched screech of agony erupts from the front lines. He commands them to hold the formation, to sync their movements, and to run the enemy through with relentless precision. The goblin horde surges forward with lethal intent. With weapons raised, they charge into the heat of battle. The command to stab rings out again, turning the battlefield into a meat grinder. They advance with bloodthirsty screeches, pushing deeper into the goblin ranks. The air is thick with the sound of clashing steel and guttural snarls. A monstrous claw slams onto the jagged rock. The hunt has officially begun. Confusion turns to pure, unadulterated panic as the goblins realize they've been outplayed. The goblin horde is sent flying in a chaotic, bone-crushing collision. Panic erupts as these monsters are tossed aside like ragdolls. The sounds of battle turn into a wet, rhythmic crunching. Someone's having a really bad day. A cold, calculating voice remarks that everything is proceeding exactly according to his master plan. Boulders rain from the heavens like divine punishment while the spear wall locks the enemy in place. The momentum has shifted. He notes that all the sleepless nights spent building these traps are finally paying off in a glorious display of tactical superiority. The turning point is here, and the enemy is on the brink of total collapse. Cold sweat drips as his eyes widen in pure, unadulterated shock. The world stops dead in its tracks. The creature lets out a desperate screech as a heavy boot slams down with bone-crushing force. There's nowhere left to run from this brutal beatdown. The ground trembles as a monstrous claw slams down with lethal intent. There's no escaping the predator now. A final, weak cry escapes the monster's throat. The beast lets out a menacing, heavy exhale, signaling that the real carnage is about to begin. A sudden, sharp crack rings out across the battlefield. A deafening, ominous sound echoes through the air. The tension reaches a breaking point as a massive, glowing impact shakes the very foundation of the scene. A bloodthirsty savage lunges from the darkness with a lethal war cry. Our hero stands firm, bracing for the brutal impact. The beast crouches, muscles coiled and ready to snap with lethal intent. With eyes blazing in fury, it prepares to unleash a devastating strike. The countdown to total annihilation begins. A thunderous stomp cracks the very earth beneath his feet. The ground shatters as raw, overwhelming power crashes down. A colossal titan looms over the battlefield, casting a terrifying shadow upon the trembling goblins below. The hunt is on and nowhere is safe. He mocks the new lord, scoffing at how unimpressive and pathetic the hobgoblin looks. The lord fires back, retorting that he recognized him instantly, mostly by the stench of his terrible breath. He demands an end to the banter, though he seems to think anything he dislikes is just nonsense. He screams for the small fry to back off and let the leaders settle this like real monsters. A moment of genuine confusion flashes across his face. A sharp, suspicious gaze cuts through the air. He's catching on to something others have missed. He throws down the gauntlet, challenging him to a one-on-one duel to the death. A cruel, jagged grin spreads across his face as he asks if his opponent is finally feeling the fear. He responds with a calm, unimpressed shrug. The atmosphere turns icy as the two prepare to clash. He mocks the trembling wretch, pointing out that this coward is supposed to be the new lord of the territory. Was the expectation for a worthy opponent just too high? He sneers that it's a shame he has to end such a pathetic life, but he promises to make the execution quick. A massive boulder slams into the beast's skull with bone-crushing force. The monster's eyes blaze with fury as it takes the brutal, direct hit. A furious roar erupts. Who dared to interrupt a sacred duel? The goblin gags as the life is choked out of him in an instant. He struggles to breathe, clutching at his throat as he's lifted off the ground. A devastating, gory strike tears through the monster's flesh. It's a clean, brutal obliteration that leaves no hope for survival. He coldly asserts that winning is the only thing that actually matters in this world. Since the battle is already in the bag, he sees no reason to waste his own energy on a duel. The verdict is in, the territory war has been won, and the survivors are at his mercy. A chilling smirk crawls across his face. The predator has finally found his prey. He turns to his troops, celebrating their hard-fought victory with a wave of relief. Terrified and cornered, the lone goblin collapses amidst the gruesome carnage of its fallen kin. There's nowhere left to run from the approaching nightmare. A triumphant cheer erupts from the victors as they revel in their conquest. The blood-soaked claw twitches with terrifying new life. Something monstrous is stirring from the grave. The wretched creature collapses in agony, writhing as the pain consumes it. Its twisted form gives way to an unbearable, soul-crushing torment. Someone spots a straggler and screams for the others to finish the job. Caught completely off guard, our hero finds himself cornered by a savage horde of monsters. The ambush is set. Will he survive this brutal encounter? He holds up a hand, commanding everyone to stop immediately. A look of genuine bewilderment washes over the group. The confusion is palpable. Why would he spare the enemy? He asks them if they were really planning to kill the survivor, and more importantly, why they would waste such a thing. They argue that leaving him alive is a death sentence. These are the very monsters that have tormented them for ages. He shuts them down instantly, refusing to let them just kill the captive. He explains that a dead goblin is just a pile of useless meat. He insists they keep him alive because, in his eyes, the goblin is nothing more than a resource to be exploited. An eerie, blood-red sky looms over the jagged mountains, signaling that a dark storm is brewing. The stage is set for a confrontation that will shake the very earth. The system logs the latest update in the background. It's time to tally up the spoils of war and see what they really gained. The territory levels up, jumping from level 1 to level 2. The population swells as the surviving residents are absorbed into the growing territory. The inventory is updated with dried meat, fruit, and plenty of leather. Not a bad haul for a day's work. A new trait is unlocked, dense infantry, granting a bonus to morale and defense when deployed. As the territory grows, so does the knowledge available to the Lord. The map reveals their current coordinates, the treacherous 12th floor of the underground demon realm. He stares at the loot and the hundreds of new mouths to feed, feeling the pressure mount. He does a quick mental calculation, and the numbers aren't looking great. He realizes that at this rate, everyone is going to starve to death. Is it finally time to start a farm? He's informed that regular agriculture is impossible on the 12th floor, which is just fantastic news to hear right now. He pauses, eyes narrowing at a sudden realization. He points to the supplies and asks exactly where they came from if farming is impossible. If they can't farm, there has to be a secret source for this food. The goblin stammers, terrified of the interrogation. He warns the goblin that a truthful answer is the only thing keeping him off the torture list today. The goblin spills the beans. There's a big tree in the forest nearby. He confesses that he's been sneaking out there at night to scavenge for food. He tells the goblin to pipe down, already processing the information. The suit-clad stranger brandishes a mysterious orb, leaving the goblins frozen in sheer terror. A tense standoff begins as the unknown player takes control of the situation. He commands them to step forward, his voice echoing with authority. They obey without a second thought, bowing before their lord. He orders a scouting party to investigate the forest before the sun comes up. The goblins shiver, looking absolutely horrified by the command. He demands to know what the problem is this time. They stutter in fear, unable to find the words. They finally admit that something is guarding the forest, something terrifying that no one has ever seen and lived to tell about. They warn that if you see the guardian, you're never coming back. He hums in contemplation, deciding that the risk is worth it anyway. The goblin nervously asks if he's off the hook for the torture now. He delivers a swift, firm no. There's still work to do. The goblins chant for blood, still bitter about the past bullying. He silences them with a single, sharp look. He asks them why they really think they won the battle. They guess it was their strength or the strategy, but he's not so sure. A sea of faceless monsters swarms the screen, ready to unleash chaos. Nowhere to run. The nightmare is closing in. He crushes their ego, telling them it was just pure luck and that they need to prepare much harder for the next fight. He clarifies that he isn't interested in torture. He's interested in results and efficiency. That's the only way they're going to survive this hellhole. So he orders them to get back to work immediately. An eerie silence blankets the ancient forest, hiding secrets in the shimmering moonlight. Danger lurks in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. A trio of goblins creeps through the shadows, hunting for their next victim. Their silent approach spells nothing but impending doom. A mysterious figure lands silently in the tall grass, shrouded in the darkness of the night. The hunt begins now. The shadows seem to watch them with hungry eyes. A blood-curdling shriek rips through the silent forest. The hunt has officially begun. A sharp, sudden intake of breath echoes in the dark. He whispers for silence, reminding them of the Lord's strict orders. They were told to look and nothing more, no touching, no scavenging, just observation. The darkness seems to stretch on forever, hiding unknown horrors. A monstrous claw strikes with lethal precision. The beast lunges, leaving no room for escape. One of them spots something in the distance. The creature locks its gaze on the mysterious, glowing fruit hanging in the darkness. Something forbidden awaits in the shadows. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. A strange, pulsing light emanates from the center of the grove. The goblins freeze, sensing that something is very wrong. The forest has been claimed by a terrifying, silken trap. Monstrous, pulsing cocoons hang from the trees, waiting for their next victim to be ensnared. Pure terror washes over the beast as he realizes his end is near. He's staring death right in the face. Something moves in the canopy above. A startled cry escapes as the trap is sprung. The monster looms over its fresh kill, reaching out with a chilling, predatory hunger. It's closing in for the final strike. The darkness is alive, and it's hungry for more than just fruit. Cold sweat drips down their faces as the goblins stare in sheer, petrified terror. Something monstrous has just arrived to turn the tables. Monstrous, blood-stained claws tear through the silence. The nightmare has finally been unleashed. The shadows come alive as the savage goblins strike with lethal intent. There's no escaping their razor-sharp claws in this deadly ambush. The monsters creep through the shadows, stalking their unsuspecting prey. Not a single sound escapes as they close in for the kill. A desperate, choked-off scream is the last thing heard in the clearing. The goblin freezes in sheer terror as a mysterious, glowing force instantly strikes its comrade down. Doom has arrived, and there is nowhere left to hide. A deadly strike slices through the air, catching the goblin completely off guard. Before he can even react, his fate is sealed in a single lightning-fast motion. A lethal strike pierces the monster's face in a flash of sudden agony. The creature's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated shock as its life begins to slip away. The goblin recoils in sheer agony, clutching its face as the pain hits home. There's no escaping this brutal assault. A final, wheezing cry of despair fades into the night air. The forest claims another victim, leaving no trace behind. A sudden realization dawns on the survivors. They aren't the hunters here. They're the prey. The cry goes out. Are they about to be slaughtered? Panic sets in as the order to flee echoes through the trees. The lone man stands unfazed as a sea of goblins swarms before him. He's about to turn this entire horde into dust. He pauses, calculating their next move. Is there really a desert in this direction? The goblin replies with a confused, questioning screech. Geography is clearly not their strong suit. He presses for confirmation. A land made entirely of sand. He demands to know. He sighs, frustrated by how agonizingly slow information gathering is in this place. He mentally maps out the terrain. Desert, forest, river, hills. The surroundings are laid out, finally giving him the tactical data he needs. It's not a bad start, he muses. At least he finally has a sense of direction. Suddenly, a panicked cry rings out. His subordinates are screaming in terror. Something has gone wrong. He turns around, demanding to know what happened to his squad. He stares at the empty spot where one of his men should be. Where did he go? The answer is chilling. He's gone. He was snatched away, dragged into the canopy above. He's livid. He gave explicit orders to only observe, not to become a snack. A single cold touch sends the monster spiraling into sheer, unadulterated terror. His fate is sealed as the predator becomes the prey. What exactly is lurking in these shadows? A lone man in a suit stands unfazed, staring down a swarm of wretched goblins. The tension is palpable as the hunter prepares to crush his foes. The evidence is clear. Webs draped over trees and deep, clawed marks stamped into the dirt. A sticky, reinforced thread hangs in the air, a deadly trap waiting to be sprung. The realization hits him hard. They are dealing with a spider, a massive one, and it's huge. He calculates the odds. A dense forest means they are at a massive disadvantage. They could be wiped out before they even draw their weapons. He grimaces at the grim reality of their situation. He knows it's suicide, but he's never been one for the easy path. If he could avoid this, he would, but there's no other way. He rallies the troops. It's time to pack up. They are heading straight into the heart of the forest. The atmosphere grows heavy and suffocating. Every step deeper into the woods feels like walking into a grave. Silence falls, heavy and ominous. They reach the edge of the forest, heartbeats racing in the dark. He's annoyed. He expected them to ambush him, yet they remain hidden, Does he really have to charge in blind? Tension builds as they wait for the first strike. The forest seems to be watching them back. A screech echoes through the brush. Get lost. Rations are running low and time is a luxury they don't have. Waiting is no longer an option. He curses the sticky webs that have been plaguing their progress. The enemy is close, he can feel it. He turns, noticing something strange. What is going on? He barks at his men. No one acts alone. Get back in line. This isn't a game. He commands them to keep the formation tight and stop wandering off. A name is called out in the gloom. He looks up, confused by the sudden movement. He orders everyone into the cave. Take cover immediately. As if things weren't bad enough, a thunderstorm breaks out, drenching the demon realm. The rain pours down, masking the sound of approaching terrors. The shelter is cramped and miserable. As he feared, the cave offers little comfort. He does a quick head count. Is everyone accounted for? There is nothing to do but wait for the storm to break. The goblins fidget, clearly on edge. One of them stammers, realizing the horrifying truth. Someone is missing. He demands to know if they checked properly. How could someone vanish in a cave? He counts them out one by one. Which one is gone? Panic ripples through the group. He can't believe it. That little runt actually wandered off into the dark. Is that brat trying to get himself killed? He's furious. He tries to stay calm, wondering if he should send a search party. He realizes it's useless. With their lack of judgment, they just walk straight into a web. He can't have gone far, he tells himself. He calls out, hoping for a response. He decides to go himself. He orders the others to stay put. Walking into a forest where death lurks behind every tree, he'd be a liar if he said he wasn't terrified. But he pushes the fear down. Taking risks when the chips are down. That is the burden and the duty of a true leader. He scans the path, looking for any trace of the missing goblin. Suddenly, a strange noise pierces the silence. He moves toward the sound, senses on high alert. A screech rings out. He finds his missing subordinate. Something is wrong. The goblin is crying out about heat. He rushes forward, desperate to intervene. The goblin is frantic, claiming his backside is burning. Talk about an awkward emergency. He tells the little guy to stay still for a second. He tries to help, but the goblin is jumping around in agony. He yells at the goblin. What was he thinking wandering off alone? The goblin whimpers, he just wanted to find some fruit. He cries, explaining his little brother was starving and he couldn't stand it anymore. He sighs, his anger softening, but he's still baffled. Why is the goblin's body literally on fire? He stops, struck by a sudden realization. He thinks back to his time in the demon realm. A sudden, ominous chill grips the forest as embers ignite the darkness. Something dangerous is lurking in the shadows. Has he ever seen fire here before? The realization starts to dawn on him. With a savage tug, he tears through the fabric in a display of pure, unbridled intensity. The tension is palpable as he shreds his way forward. A sudden, desperate grip halts the action. The tension explodes as their hands lock in a moment of pure intensity. The other goblins are terrified, but they know their leader is in danger. They have to go save him. They hear a strange sound echoing through the trees. They are shaking with fear, but they push forward into the darkness. Bare feet strike the earth in a rhythmic, ominous march. The shadows close in as the mysterious figures advance. They creep forward, eyes wide. What is that glowing light ahead? A blinding burst of raw power shatters the silence. The very air ignites as an unstoppable force tears through the scene. They gasp in shock. The scene before them is unbelievable. A sudden, violent inferno erupts, consuming everything in its path. The flames roar to life with unstoppable intensity. The mystery of the heat is solved. With a bone-shattering thud, he slams into the earth. The ground buckles under the sheer force of his landing. At that moment, the goblins feel a breathless, overwhelming sense of wonder. Panic erupts as the goblin horde cowers in sheer, soul-crushing terror. Their desperate shrieks echo through the dark as they face their inevitable doom. A brilliant flame burns alone in the dark, a sight they've never witnessed in this cursed realm. And the one holding that flame, the forest erupts in a blinding, chaotic inferno. Everything is being consumed by the relentless flames. Looks like a god who has descended to rule the demon realm. With a torch held high, he pierces the suffocating darkness with a gaze of pure, icy determination. The shadows have nowhere left to hide. They call out, stunned by his presence. He turns, genuinely surprised to see them there. He reminds them he told them to wait, but admits this might actually work in their favor. The fire dances in the reflection of his eyes. The air crackles with lethal energy as a single strand of hair meets the roaring inferno. Everything is about to be consumed in the blink of an eye. A blade of pure, scorching energy slices through the darkness. The battlefield erupts as the searing strike tears the very air apart. The goblins are awestruck by the power he wields. He realizes the potential. This little goblin is a game changer. He decides this hero needs a proper title. From now on, he is Kim Prometheus, or Kimpro for short, because he is the one who brought fire to their people. A notification chimes. He has bestowed a name upon a territory resident for the first time. The naming effect has been activated.
Kim Prometheus.
It has a nice ring to it. The tiny creature stares up in pure, wide-eyed wonder. A world of mystery awaits this innocent little soul. The power surges through the air. A mystical aura erupts as the mysterious creature levitates in a brilliant display of power. All eyes are on this strange being as it awakens in the heart of the forest. The goblin repeats his new name, confused but honored. He struggles with the syllables, but he's clearly thrilled. He wonders what exactly has changed about the little guy. The monsters screech for blood, but they have no idea who they're messing with. A lethal confrontation is about to explode. The goblin cheers, buzzing with newfound energy. A lethal focus ignites in his eyes as he locks onto his target. There's no escaping that cold, calculated gaze. He cuts the celebration short. They have a mission to complete. He tells them to gather around. He's going to share the fire with everyone. The goblins watch, mesmerized by the torch being passed. A chilling grin spreads across his face as the inferno ignites. He's ready to burn everything to the ground. A sudden, scorching burst of flame erupts, consuming everything in its path. The heat intensifies as the inferno roars to life. The tide of the battle is about to shift. They see something in the shadows. They aren't alone. They find the cocoons. Their captured comrades are trapped inside. He narrows his eyes at the sight. He calls out, ready for a fight. A screeching monster lunges from the darkness. He knew it. Spiders are cold-blooded, and they absolutely hate fire. He briefly considers burning the whole forest down, but realizes that would incinerate their food supply too. The spiders are already starting to scramble away. If you're enjoying this recap, smash that like button and subscribe for more. A high-pitched screech echoes through the clearing. His men are terrified, begging for direction. He realizes they are paralyzed by fear. He has to take the lead. He charges forward, torch held high. He strikes, taking down a spider with a single brutal motion. He shouts to his men, "As long as they have fire, these monsters are nothing." He rallies them. "Don't be afraid. Charge." The goblins roar, their fear replaced by a burning bloodlust. They surge forward, a wave of fire and fury. Charge. They scream, rushing into the fray. The battle is absolute chaos. The goblin shouts to his lord, proud of his fighting skills. He demands his lord watch his handiwork. He looks around, but something is wrong. He curses. He underestimated the spiders. They're actually coordinating their attacks. Things are going from bad to worse. He realizes he's in deep trouble. His men scream in horror. The lord is being dragged away. They yell in despair, watching their leader vanish into the webbing. What will happen to them now? Without him, the territory is doomed. They realize they're just going to be spider food if they don't do something fast. The forest remains a dangerous, hungry place. The frantic shouts of his subordinates echo through the clearing, desperation coloring their voices. "My lord!" They cry out, terrified of the impending doom. Kim Pro, watch out. It's too dangerous. The chant begins, a rhythmic desperation filling the air. The Lord can't die. The Lord can't die. The Lord can't die. They scream it over and over, as if sheer willpower could cheat death itself. Suddenly, a mystical surge ripples through the battlefield. The effect of naming has activated. A shimmering barrier manifests as the protection of flames takes hold. The air crackles with residual energy as the system processes the change. The battlefield is a chaotic mess, but the aura around them shifts dramatically. Reality seems to warp under the intensity of the magical output. "Kim Pro, my lord," a subordinate stammers, stunned by the display. "I'm here," comes the calm, steady reply. Kim Pro stands tall amidst the chaos. "First, could you move a little? You're burning me alive, man." The flames instantly vanish as he exerts his newfound control. The subordinate stares in awe, wondering how he managed that feat so easily. A moment of realization dawns on them. This is the true power of naming. The potential here is absolutely massive. Despite being engulfed in hellfire just moments ago, his skin isn't even singed. The flames don't hurt him at all. All eyes turn toward the spider threat. Are they finally turning tail and running? A massive, distorted creature emerges, leaving everyone baffled by its appearance. A chilling screech pierces the air. Damn it! Someone curses under their breath. The spiders are definitely retreating, abandoning the fight. The tension finally begins to dissipate. A collective sigh of relief ripples through the crowd. They can finally breathe again. It's really over, and they've somehow survived. Cheers erupt as they celebrate the Lord and Kim Pro for driving back the beasts. They go wild, chanting and praising their leaders for the victory. Kim Pro watches them, thinking these goblins get weirder every single day. Everyone said farming was impossible here, yet here they are, defying the odds. A subordinate rushes forward, desperate for his attention. If these fruits could be transported, world hunger would be a thing of the past. Lord! The subordinate calls out again. But Kim Pro is lost in his own world. Lord! The subordinate tries to get his attention, struggling to contain his excitement. Kim Pro snaps back to reality, apologizing for being distracted. He tells them to calm down and report what happened. A beast has appeared. The news hits them like a truck. A beast? Kim Pro asks, raising an eyebrow. It's true. There it is. A small, mysterious creature. A wolf? Everyone leans in to get a better look. It's the one found inside the cocoon. While the others were dead, this little one survived. Kim Pro praises the subordinate, telling him to keep reporting things like this in the future. He jokes that he'll keep this in mind for the next performance review. The subordinate glows with pride. Someone can't hold back their excitement anymore. Thanks for the meal, they yell, eyeing the pup. Don't do it, you psycho. Kim Pro barks, shutting that down immediately. The puppy lets out a tiny, whimpering sound. It looks absolutely harmless. It's just a puppy after all. Kim Pro realizes that if it grows attached, it could be a valuable asset for the territory. But there's always a risk. If it turns out to be a threat, they might have to put it down. The atmosphere turns serious for a moment. Lord? Someone whispers. Lord! They call out again, waiting for the verdict. Kim Pro turns to his team. Meet your new junior. Take good care of them. The group is shocked by the decision. Just like that, they've hired an unidentified wolf cub. A woo? The puppy chirps, looking around in confusion. It's surprisingly cute for a future apex predator. They lay out the fruits they managed to collect today. They won't have to worry about food for a while. The crowd goes wild, celebrating the massive haul. The Lord is a god, one shouts. No, God is the Lord, another corrects him. They're convinced that as long as they follow the Lord, they'll never starve again. Lord? A goblin calls out, holding a pile of fruit. He gives a goofy grin, hoping for some praise. He wants the Lord to be happy with how much he picked. Look at this. He's practically drowning in fruit.
Ah, Kim Pro.
Perfect timing. He asks him to start a fire. He explains the threat. The spiders hide in trees, closing in on prey before they even realize it. To stop them, they need to burn down a section of the forest. It will create a safe zone the spiders can't enter, perfect for harvesting. With watchtowers, they'll spot them early and evacuate before any trouble starts. Lord!
Ah, Kim-pro.
Perfect timing? Could you start a fire? The goblins suddenly look terrified, thinking they've offended him. We were wrong, Lord. Please forgive us just this once. Panic ensues, and they start throwing fruit at him as a peace offering. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Aya! They are begging for mercy, offering their lives to save their families. It's a misunderstanding, you idiots. He screams for them to just listen for 1 second. The chaos is reaching peak levels of stupidity. Yes, just as expected of the Lord. I always believed in you, one yells, while the wolf pup howls along. No, I really did believe in you. They all scramble to prove their loyalty. The watchtowers have stabilized the food supply, but they still have a mountain of problems to solve. There are currently 260 goblins in the territory. At this rate, they're going to burn through the food supply in no time. The math is simple and it's not looking good. They'll exhaust all the fruit in the area within half a year. If the fruit takes longer than that to grow back, they're in deep trouble. They'll have to restructure the entire territory to survive. He's determined to fix this no matter what it takes. Since it's unexplored territory, they need to be prepared for anything. Goblins are small and struggle in close combat, so they need ranged weapons. He ponders the next step of their survival plan. What's this? A spider web? It has a surprising amount of elasticity. Actually, it's more than just quite a bit. Ah! Eek! Sorry, I didn't mean to.